Hello guys, my name is Raviraj Prajapati. Today we'll be talking about locomotion and movement. So what is locomotion? Locomotion is me moving from point A to point B. Okay, I am standing in my hall, I'll go to my kitchen. It's locomotion. And if I pick a utensil in my kitchen, it will be movement. See, my hands are moving, my fingers are moving. So it is known as movement. I hope you guys are clear with what is locomotion and movement. So for locomotion and movement in human beings, we require two main structures, which are bones and muscles. So what are bones? Why do we need bones? Bones will provide rigidity and frame, and muscles will provide with power. So this will act as a lever or a rigid framework for our movements, and muscles will give our power or liberty to move. Okay, so what are these bones? What are these muscles? Let's study them in detail. To study bones, I'll first give you a basic innuendo what's needed. See, we have all seen these construction sites. We have seen these beams coming out of every pillar. In half constructed buildings, we can see it, it's very common. So, what are these iron rods giving? They are giving rigidity to this structure so that it can stand on its own. The same way, we have seen every motorcycle has this kind of frame. Okay, cheaper motorcycles have simpler frames which are V-shaped. I'll make it in white so you can see gray. See, cheaper motorcycles have these kind of frames. Costlier ones have complicated, but each and every motorcycle has to have this frame so that its structure can stand. Every motorcycle even has an engine so that movement is possible. In the same way, even we have this structure. These are bones. Their function is same as that frame. See, this frame and these bones, they have the same function. They have to provide rigidity to the structure. See, we have all this flesh around these bones, so there has to be some rigid structure which holds this flesh together. So that function is done by bones. Okay, so rigidity and framework in human beings is provided by bones. So for movement of these bones, we have muscles. I'll make it in red. We have these muscles which are attached to these bones. See, this is a bicep muscle. These are forearms. So every bone has muscles attached to it. These muscles contract and relax. When they relax, this structure will go away. Forearm will go away. When it contracts, this forearm will come up. So how it's possible? How is it possible? We'll study about it in more detail. Okay. So for that we need to study structure of our muscle fibers. So suppose I cut this muscle. I zoom it. That is the same box. Okay. So I'll make it laterally. So this is lateral view. This is that bicep muscle. Okay. It is attached to that bone. Suppose this is the bone. It is attached to that bone. Okay, with tendons. This is tendon and this is a muscle. Okay, so what is in this muscle? First of all, this tendon will extend and this muscle will be completely covered with a capsule. Okay, this black color capsule. This black capsule is known as epimysium. Okay, this epimysium protects this muscle and maintains homeostasis in this muscle, that the chemicals, the pH of this muscle will be different from the outside components. Suppose we have fats here, fat globules. So these globules will not interfere with the homeostasis or any chemical reactions occurring in these muscles. So that is the function of this epimysium. So it separates the muscle structures from the surrounding tissues. Okay, these muscles can be anywhere. They can be in hand, in legs. Suppose these are smooth muscles, they can be in viscera. So it will always have epimysium. Okay, now suppose we cut this muscle into a smaller block. Okay, and we zoom it. Okay, now what will this block have? Okay, now that muscle is cut down. Suppose this is epimysium. Now this epimysium will have lots of fiber like structure, and these are rod like structures, just like beams we saw here. See, this beam, this was a whole muscle, and every muscle has these globules. Suppose these beams. So these are individual beams, like one pillar of that building. It is functionally same. Okay, so these pillars, suppose pillars of muscles, they are covered with perimysium. Okay, now even these pillars will have small fibers coming out of it. Okay, these small fibers are like those rods coming out of that pillar. Okay, so it is known as endomysium. Okay, so by now we have discussed about three coverings: epimysium, perimysium, and endomysium. Okay, now let me zoom on this very muscle fiber. Okay, so if we zoom, it will have this lines present on it. Okay, it is known as Z line or Z line. It will have small bulges, small depressions over its surface. Let me make it. See, it will look like this. Every muscle fiber will have this. It's not necessary that bulges and these are on same sides. Now what are these bulges for? Okay, I heard someone saying nucleus. Yeah, these are cells. These are specialized cells in our body, muscle cells. Okay, so these muscle cells have to have nucleus like every other cell. What are these indentations for? These indentations are for nerve endings, like this nerve will form synapse or neuromuscular junction. Neuron, muscular, muscle cell, and junction, where these two meet. Okay, this is a very specialized structure. We'll study it in later chapters. Okay, but for now you need to know that nerve will join to this muscle or come in contact or come near this muscle cell, near this indentation, where it will release acetylcholine and other neurotransmitters. Okay, so now we know how our muscle cell looks. Okay, it looks like a cylinder it has these lines. And now if we zoom this structure, let's zoom it on another page. Okay, now what will this last block that we studied have? See, there are two Z lines in this. There is a nucleus. Okay, now it will have another structures that I'll draw on another page. Wait, I'll just give you a basic idea here itself so that I can draw in more detail on next page. I hope it is visible to you guys. We don't have a blackboard setup. We are super compromised because of this pandemic. Let's hope it goes away real soon with the minimum of fatalities. We have already lost thousands of people. Okay, so I can divide it in different components. Okay, as you can see, first are these bars, okay, that are starting from Z line on both sides. Okay, then we have this matchstick like structure. It's looking like matchstick. Or a street light, inverted street light to be accurate. These structures, they form a different zone, and then there is a gap. There is a light zone. Okay, I've made made lines on this. It does not contain line. It is light like this. It has nothing in it. Okay, this street light like structure start from here with nothing in between. Okay, so now we can divide it in two zones, the one which has Z line and one which has nothing. Okay, this Z line is the dark zone and this is the light zone. So every muscle has these two zones, dark zone which contains Z lines and many fibers coming out of it, and then this light zone which has nothing in it. So it is known as H zone. H zone is the light zone which has nothing in it. Okay, so I'll make this structure in detail. So what is this Z line? It contains protein. Okay, so out of these proteins there are small fibers that come out. Okay, suppose the three fibers from here, three fibers from here. Now there are some proteins which come out and they connect to larger proteins. These proteins you should not remember. It's okay if you don't remember. It's not given in your NCERT, but these ones you should remember. Okay, the proteins with this weird structure. So what are these proteins? Okay, the ones which look like this roughly, and the ones which look like straight lines or straight rods. Okay, so these are myosin and these are actin. Okay, so these are two kinds of proteins which mainly form muscle cells. There are few other proteins we can say for you. Okay, so there is a protein which is wrapped on this actin helically. Okay, is wrapped on this. Now this protein which is wrapped on actin, is called as tropomyosin. Now every turn of this tropomyosin will have another small globular protein. So it is just a small globule. Okay, this globule which is present on turns of tropomyosin, it is known as troponin. So the four proteins that we have studied so far are actin, which was that rod like structure coming out of Z line. Then we have studied myosin, which was this weird shaped protein coming near actin. Okay, then we have studied this tropomyosin, which was wrapped around actin. Okay, you get the name. And then there was this troponin, which was present on each depression or each turn of this tropomyosin. Okay, so I hope you got all the four names of these proteins. Now we know the structure of muscle fiber. We have started from a giant muscle. If we cut it, we see these beams or giant pillars present in our muscles, each covered with perimysium. Now if we dissect this perimysium or cut this perimysium further, we'll see there are many fibers present in this perimysium. Each fiber is a separate muscle cell. Okay, each muscle cell will have endomysium wrapped over it. Okay, so if we cut this endomysium is also called as sarcolemma. Okay, or okay, so we can also call this sarcomere. Now each sarcomere, if we cut it, or a muscle cell in simpler language, or even if we don't cut it, we'll see these lines, Z lines on it, and there is a separate light zone between these Z lines. This light zone is also called as edge zone. Okay, so there is an edge zone. There are these actin fibers coming out of Z line from both sides, and there is a separate protein, a weird shaped protein known as myosin between these Z lines near this edge zone. This is edge zone. Okay, I hope you guys have understood it. If you are stuck at any point, you can obviously go and rewind it. It's on YouTube. Okay, so whenever this muscle fiber contracts, which part of this muscle fiber will contract and what part will disappear? Obviously this edge zone, that light zone which has nothing in it, it will disappear. Okay, these Z lines, these are Z lines, this will come near and it will run over each other. These actin fibers will come near each other. Okay, how is it possible? How is it possible that these protein molecules are coming near each other and this zone is disappearing? So there is a simple mechanism. It's very interesting. Okay, so we have studied that these actin molecules coming out of Z line, they are separated from each other with a zone of blank space. Okay, no, not that blank space. Okay, then there are these actin proteins. Now these actin proteins are connected on tropomyosin. Okay, on troponin to be specific. Now each muscle cell has pores in it. Okay, these pores are known as T tubules. Okay, its sarcolemma will have pores, so these pores are known as T tubules. Now whenever there is a signal. Okay, I'll make a separate diagram from the start. Now from the start, just a part of it. Okay, suppose this is a muscle cell, this is a nucleus. I said this is a depression, there is a Z line. Okay, this is another Z line. Okay, this is the H zone, blank zone, which has nothing in it. Okay, so now we have not cut this muscle yet, we don't know what is inside, we are looking from the outside. Okay, so there will be an axon terminal in this depression. I hope you all agree. Okay, there will be a T tubule, like I said. What is this T tubule? In the cross section, it is looking like a huge depression, but it is just like a prick from a pin. Like if a pin pricks on the cell, there will be a depression. It's same kind of depression. Okay, so this depression is super useful for us. Now, this membrane have loads of calcium outside it, calcium floating outside it. It also has calcium inside it. Okay, it has calcium pumps that pump calcium inside. It is stored in sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay, this is a structure just like endoplasmic reticulum. Muscle cells have sarcoplasmic reticulum. It will store calcium. Okay, Ca plus. Okay, now whenever nerve sends a signal, neurotransmitters will get released. These neurotransmitters will come here. They will create a change in this sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay, yes, they will generate a positive charge here. Now this will lead to release of these calcium ions outside. Okay, now we know what's happening outside the cell. Now this calcium, as it is inside the cell, okay, sarcoplasmic reticulum is inside the cell, so this calcium will get released. It will get attached to these molecules or these protein molecules known as troponin. Okay, calcium will go and attach on it, on every troponin. But we know that myosin was attached to troponin. Okay, see, tropomyosin was wrapped on actin, and on every turn it had troponin. Okay, and myosin was attached on troponin. So if calcium gets attached on this troponin, this myosin head will detach from it. Okay, it will go away. Now while detaching, some energy is liberated from it. Okay, now it has some energy in it now. Okay, now there are tons of ATP molecules hanging around here which get attached to the head of myosin. Now this ATP molecule will break down because of an enzyme ATPase. It will form ADP plus phosphate. Okay, adenosine diphosphate plus a phosphate molecule. Now this will liberate energy and cause it to move forward. Okay, this will change its structure and go ahead and attach to this molecule. Okay, this is coming with energy, so obviously calcium is detaching. Okay, this will form a new structure, and this will now go under same process, this second head, and it will attach to this. Okay, so it will start sliding ahead. Okay, because of influx of calcium will make it detach from its primary site, make it attach to ATP, and make it go ahead. Okay, so in this way it is sliding ahead. Now if it is sliding ahead and there's nothing in between, these structures will come closer. Okay, there's nothing in between, so obviously these structures will come here. Okay, this will generate a pull on these actin fibers. Then in the same way, this myosin will generate a pull on these active fibers and make it come nearer. Okay, so this zone, H zone, will disappear. So what will happen now? This zone is disappearing, so these Z lines are coming closer. This zone has disappeared now. Okay, so it will facilitate contraction. Now how this contraction is causing us to move from one place to another. So there is a simple mechanism like we see in every door. Okay, so suppose it's the door, it is attached from a wall with a hinge. Okay, so I'll make hinge in different color. Okay, suppose gray. This is the hinge. Okay, and I'll create a motor. Okay, suppose this is the motor attaching, we see on many automated doors. So this motor is like muscle. Okay, now this will contract, and suppose for simplicity it is attached to this wall. Okay, now if this length shortens and this comes inside, this piston comes inside, then what will happen? This door will displace here. Okay, the same way even human beings do this. So suppose this is a, okay, I'll make bones in black and muscles in red. Okay, so I'm making this humerus bone. Okay, suppose this is a humerus. Okay, if you don't know what humerus is, it is the bone of hand. Okay, upper hand to be more specific, and it will give rise to two bones. Okay, okay, this will give rise to two bones, which will further give rise to smaller bones, metacarpals, which will lead to phalanges. Okay, oh, okay, this is thumb should be here. Yeah, so what will happen? See, our biceps muscle will get attached over here. Suppose this is that girth of muscle which we saw just now, we zoomed in it. Okay, now this will attach to this bone. Okay, so what if this muscle contracts? This will go up. What if this muscle relaxes? If this muscle relaxes, this structure will go down. So in this way, contraction of muscle forms a lever like mechanism, just like we saw on door. Okay, just like we saw here. Where is that? It was on that page itself. Okay, yeah, just like we saw here, there's a structure. Suppose this is a bone, this is another bone, this is a muscle. It is contracting or pulling on it, so it will create a motion. Okay, this is how locomotion is possible in our body. Okay, I hope every one of you has understood what I've taught till now. So I think we'll go ahead and see what are types of muscle, or there might be question some of you might be having, that how are single cell organisms moving? Say they don't have muscles, they can't have muscles because they don't have different types of cell, there is just one cell. So how is it possible that these organisms move? There are various mechanisms. Okay, so some of these have flagella, of course, like human sperm cell has it. Okay, so flagella. Then there's cilia. This cilia also facilitates movement. Okay, this flagella, this can be uniflagellar. These cells can be biflagellar. They can have flagella on opposite ends. They can have flagella on same end. Okay, they can have flagella all over it. It is known as peritrichus. It is known as amphitrichus. Okay, unipolar amphitrichus. If it is on opposite end, then it is bipolar amphitrichus. Okay, or it can have pseudopodia like amoeba. Okay, okay, just like amoeba, it can have pseudopodia which will facilitate in movement. So there are various mechanisms, and some cells are even non-motile, just like spore cells in plants. These are non-motile. Okay, so I hope you guys got how unicellular organisms move. Okay, every organism has to have motion. Almost all living animals move. Okay, just to acquire food or run away from their prey, okay. So I hope we all are on same page. So now we'll study locomotion on humans in detail. Okay, humans. So for humans we have two types of muscles. No, we have three types of muscle. Okay, we have two types of striated muscle which I'll discuss in detail. Okay, three types of muscle. So out of which one we saw, just like this bicep muscle. Okay, then there's stomach. Imagine stomach. You all know that stomach churns food. You have studied digestion. Okay, then this stomach wall has muscles in it. Even esophagus has muscle in it. Each part of digestive tract has muscles in it. So these are different kinds of muscle. These are not same as this biceps muscle that we were discussing right now. Okay, then we have all studied structure of heart. Okay, now this even heart has muscle in it. Okay, so we know all these three muscle groups have different functions. Okay, so on basis of their function the structure is different. Okay, so we'll make three columns. This is biceps. Okay, just for the sake of understanding, I'm not writing names, I am drawing their structures. Okay, so that you can understand it better. Okay, okay, this is biceps. This is smooth muscle. Okay, this is striated muscle. Okay, this biceps muscle is striated. Why striated? We discussed it at Z lines. Okay, this is smooth muscle. Now this smooth muscle does not have prominent Z lines. Okay, we'll discuss it further why it does not have Z lines. But just for remember it does not have Z lines. Okay, Z lines are not present on it. No light or dark zones are seen. Now in cardiac muscles we have seen it has Z lines, but it has slightly different structure than striated muscle. Okay, so what is different in these cells? So we can easily remember it depending on their structures. Okay, now bicep muscles, we need to willingly move our hands, like we need to willingly lift something, push something, walk. Okay, climb. Okay, but as soon as we eat food, okay, as soon as we eat food, we don't tell our stomach to digest, right? Or we don't tell our esophagus to make food go down the digestive tract. Okay, or we don't tell our hearts to pump, right? It does it on its own. So there's first difference that we have seen. Okay, the first difference is that these striated muscles, these are voluntary muscles. Okay, these are voluntary. These both are involuntary. Okay, we don't have control over these kind of muscles. Okay, we just have control over striated muscles. Now there's another difference. Okay, we just lost it. Yeah. So there's another difference in this. Now that we have studied, it has striations, so we can write it as a difference, like it has dark and light zones, it has Z lines, so there is striation, that it has Z lines. It does not, not. Okay, it is absent. Or it has striations are present in this, absent in this, does not have striations, and it has striations, of course. So striations are present in this. So these are two main differences. There's another key difference in its structure. Okay, all three of them have different types of structures. Okay, so these have cylindrical structures, just like we saw in previous slides. Okay, these have cylindrical structures with Z lines. Now these are spindle shaped. Now what is spindle? Spindle which is tapering on both sides, just like we see fishes are spindle shaped, or airplanes are spindle shaped, tapered on both sides. Okay, so it is spindle shaped. Now these are cylindrical heart cells, but these have branchings on them with intercalated discs, which we have discussed in previous chapter. Okay, these are branched cells. Okay, they'll also have nucleus. All these cells will have nucleus. These ones have it on their sides, but the spindle ones can have it in between, in the bulged edge. Okay, so we have seen three different types of structure. These are cylindrical branched, and this one is completely separate. It is spindle shaped. So it has striations, but since it is spindle shaped, not every striation is in same line. So striations are all across, evenly spread. Okay, so this will all kind of look same. Okay, so we'll see no striations. It has Z lines, but it is not visible because they are not arranged parallel to each other. Okay, so in these muscles they are almost parallelly arranged, so we can see light and dark bands, but these are spindle shaped, so we can't see them. Even these are cylindrical shaped, so these are almost parallelly arranged, so we can see striations. Okay, I hope you have got whatever I have taught till now. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Okay, now we know three types of muscle cells. Okay, two were involuntary, one was voluntary. Now these voluntary muscles have two types. Okay, one is white and one is red. Now why it is called white, why it is called red? Because it looks white or more whitish. Both are actually red, but it looks more whitish. Okay, it is pale, super pale. Okay, and it looks bright red. Okay, so these bright red ones called red, and this pale one is called white. So why do we need to have two kinds of striated muscles? Okay, it's super easy. We need voluntary action, so this single type of muscle is giving absolutely fine results. No, I'd say no. There are some voluntary muscles that need to constantly work. Okay, these muscles are useful for maintaining posture. So like back muscles, or some muscles of mastication, or eyelids, these muscles have to work constantly. Okay, or muscles of legs when we are standing. Okay, so these muscles have to work for longer duration. Okay, posterior part of legs, so mostly back muscles, back, core, even abs, abdominal muscles. Okay, these are main muscles. Okay, now these muscles, there are some kind of muscles which do not have to work very often, but they need to work with more force, they need to generate more force, like muscles of thighs. Okay, like muscle of thigh, these thigh muscles will need to generate more force, like in sprinters. Or we have seen there are two kinds of birds. Okay, smaller ones and larger ones. Now larger birds like vultures or eagles, they have huge wings. Okay, they have huge wings, so they just need to flap their wings once. Okay, but smaller birds like sparrows, they have comparatively smaller wings, so they need to constantly flap their wings. Okay, like say 60 times per minute. Okay, one flap per second. Okay, so now birds these birds will get fatigued very easily. These birds will not get fatigued. Okay, So they need different kinds of muscles, just like thigh muscles and back muscles. Okay, so now these red muscles have more mitochondria, more mitochondria. So more oxidation, it will generate more ATPs, it will need more oxygen, so it has more blood vessels, more blood vessels. Okay, I'll just erase it. Okay, now it will have more mitochondria plus more blood vessels. Now these mitochondria and blood vessels are the reason that it looks bright red. Okay, whereas these muscles have more muscle fibers, more muscle fibers, more sarcomeres, less AT, less mitochondria. Compared to that, less blood vessels, so it will accumulate lactic acid faster, but it will generate more power because it has more sarcomere. So these are the main reasons because of this muscles look different or whatever their color is. Okay, I hope we all are on same page. So we have done half of this chapter. Okay, half is done. So what half is done? Muscles. It was the complicated part. Now we'll go to easy half. Okay, now what is the easy half? Bones. So bones are not this complicated. Okay, bones are just rigid structures. Like, of course they have some cells in it, but they are not as complicated as muscles to understand. Okay, so now we'll study the structure of bones, or how many bones we have. First of all, we'll see that, and what kind of bones we have. Okay, guys, I've just seen that we have been talking since 40 minutes, so I think we'll save bones for another lecture. Okay, so we'll wind up this lecture with some interesting topics about muscles. Okay, so because bone is a separate huge topic, it is very interesting, it is very easy, but you will need to remember few things. So we'll talk about bones in coming lecture. We'll just wind up these muscles in 20 minutes or so. We'll see some diseases and some interesting topics, how these muscles are fatigued and which are the strongest and weakest muscles in human body. Okay, so let's start it. So first of all, um, we'll talk about how these muscles get fatigued. Okay, fatigue and rejuvenation. So how it's done? It is done by Cori cycle. Cori cycle. Now, why do we call it Cori cycle? Because Cori was the name of scientist. Okay, so it was a scientist who discovered this. Okay, I hope we all are on same page. So now what happens in Cori cycle? Yeah. So suppose this is the same bicep muscles that we have been drawing since the start of this lecture. Okay, so it will have galactose or glycogen, which will get broken down into glucose, which will get broken down into lactic acid. It will get broken down into pyruvate first, then it will get broken down into lactic acid, and this step will release ATP, which is super essential for its contraction. Now this lactic acid will get accumulated and it will get mixed in blood. Now in blood it will travel to liver. Okay, this is super important feature of this organ. Okay, now this blood will come to liver, it will travel heart, and then it will come to liver. Okay, so when it comes to liver will take all the lactic acid, it will release CO2 plus H2O with one CO2 molecule. It will use oxygen to make it into pyruvate, which will then form into glucose, which will then form into glycogen, and it will get mixed in blood and it will go into muscle cell again. So this is the complete cycle of how muscle cell gets energy. Okay, so it starts with glycogen in muscle cells. Glycogen molecule is accumulated in muscle cells. So whenever we need energy, we need to lift heavy weights, it gets broken down into glucose, which gets converted into pyruvate, then to lactic acid. Then this lactic acid gets mixed in blood. Now this blood travels to heart. From heart it gets pumped into systemic circulation, from where it reaches liver. So in liver, this lactic acid is converted into glycogen, which gets mixed into the blood and goes to the um, cells again, muscle cells again. So it can go to any muscle cell. Okay, it can go to biceps, it can go to thighs, it can go to back muscles. Okay, so I hope you all understand what is Cori cycle now, and you will be able to imagine this cycle whenever any question arrives at you. Okay, so now we'll discuss largest muscle. Which one is largest muscle? Largest muscle is gluteus maximus. Okay, longest muscle is latissimus dorsi. Latissimus dorsi. Okay, first dorsi. Okay, gluteus maximus, latissimus dorsi. So what is gluteus maximum? It is that bum wala muscle. Okay, so this muscle is used for standing. Okay, whenever you stand, this muscle contracts. Okay, so it is on the hip bone, and it is a large muscle. Okay, triangular in shape. Okay, it has many tendons. Okay, so it is the muscle that gives glutes its definition or shape. Okay, latissimus dorsi is located on back. Suppose this is scapula. Okay, so it starts from here and it goes down till gluteus maximus. So latissimus dorsi are long muscles. Okay, so I hope you know longest and largest. Now we'll see smallest. So in ear we have tympanic membrane, then we have three bones. Okay, malleus, incus, stapes. There's a muscle stapedius muscle attached to stapes. Okay, stapedius. It is smallest muscle. Okay, so I hope you guys can answer now which is largest muscle, which is longest muscle, which is smallest muscle. Okay, so now strength. When it comes to strength of muscle is directly proportional to length of muscle. So it's super easy now. So which is the longest muscle in body? Latissimus dorsi. So which is supposed to be strongest muscle in body? Latissimus dorsi. Okay, and if it comes which is the weakest muscle? So stapedius. Okay, so we are not talking a strength of muscle fibers or anything, we are just talking general strength, how much power these muscles generate. Okay, so we have now seen longest, shortest, largest muscles, we have seen the strongest and weakest muscles. Now we'll discuss about the diseases or conditions, to be more specific. Okay, so first condition is hypertrophy. So hypertrophy is increase in size. So an increase in size of muscle is known as hypertrophy. So it can be physiological, it means it can be natural. We can be lifting weights like army people, or weightlifters, or it can be in our case Bollywood stars like John. Okay, so it is natural. But if this hypertrophy occurs excessively in the muscles in which we don't want hypertrophy, for example heart, we don't want hypertrophy here, because if size of this muscle increases, it will pump blood more with more force, it will increase the blood pressure. Okay, so we don't want that. It can damage our blood vessels. So as we know, it is seen very commonly in diabetics and people with hypertension. Hypertension is same as increased blood pressure. So in people with these conditions we see hypertrophy of heart muscles. Okay, so I hope you get what hypertrophy does. Okay, so in the same way we can see hypertrophy or it is also called atrophy. So it will cause decrease in size of muscle cells. So it is people who do not use or use less of their muscle fibers. Okay, just like astronauts, whenever they go to space, they lose 3% of their muscle mass every day. Okay, 3% of their muscle mass of legs especially, because there is less gravity in space. So they don't use their larger leg muscles to walk or stand, so their leg muscles lose mass by 3% every day. Okay, so this is very commonly. Or you can see many skinny people, every skinny guys, okay, see, who are not very active or not indulging in sports. So these guys can have small muscles, extremely small muscles. It is known as atrophy. Atrophy even occurs during death of muscle cells. It can also cause atrophy. Okay, there are many conditions which cause atrophy. Okay, so we'll now see some diseases of muscle cells. So what are these diseases? Okay, this one super interesting condition called myasthenia gravis. Okay, so now what happens in myasthenia gravis? So causes weakness of muscle cells, where it is an autoimmune disorder autoimmune disorder. Okay, so um, this will cause weakness of muscle fibers, or it may also lead to atrophy of muscles. Okay, then um, another diseases we can see is tetany. Now what is tetany? Tetany or tetanus is contraction of skeletal muscles, which will cause stiffness of body. Stiffness, the person is not able to move. Okay, that person is not able to move. He'll have pain and his body will become arched due to forceful contraction. Now there's one another thing that we might have seen in movies, that some close relative of a uh, or of a hero dies. Okay, and he tries to close his eyes, but he's not able to close eyes of that dead person. Okay, suppose these are the eyes. It is not an alien, it is relative of, suppose, our hero. Okay, so he tries to close it, but he is not able to close, because there have been few hours since the death of this person. Okay, so what is this condition called? It does not occur only in eyes, or we have seen that sometimes a person dies with a key in his hand. Okay, with a key in his hand, and he does not opens his wrist. Okay, so this condition is known as rigor mortis. So what is rigor mortis? Where if person dies, which leads to decrease in ATP. Now we know ATP was somewhat responsible in detachment of myosin filaments. So myosin filaments will not detach, so that contraction or relaxation of muscles will not be possible now. Okay, so if contraction and relaxation is not possible, okay, then this muscle will remain in the same state as it was during the time of death. If that muscle was contracted, it will remain contracted forever until all the calcium gets exhausted. Okay, when calcium gets exhausted, even detachment of calcium will cause uh, relaxation of muscles. Okay, so it is known as rigor mortis. Okay, so I think that's enough in muscles. We'll wind up this lecture. Stay safe, stay at home, follow the quarantine. I hope you guys do well in exams. All the best.